Everything is fine, but being behind Williams in qualifying for me is unacceptable. Leclerc himself said it after qualifying. Seeing Leclerc 8th and Hamilton 12th with Ferrari behind Sainz and Albon, with even Hamilton behind Ocon, Onoda and Ajar, in my opinion, is a hard blow. Even the drivers themselves did not expect such a disappointing performance in qualifying, and now we talk about it in detail. Let's analyze the qualifications, let's also analyze the sprint race, let's see the times, let's also see the statements of the drivers, which are fundamental to understand the current situation of Ferrari. Before starting, obviously, I remind you to leave a like, to subscribe and activate notifications so as not to miss any video. Having said that, great pole of Max Verstappen, guys. Guys, honestly, I did not expect the pole of Verstappen because I saw a McLaren and also a very strong Mercedes on the dry lap. But Verstappen always manages to do that something more in driving compared to all the others, and we look where his teammate is. 10, so 9 positions behind him with a gap of 7/10 on a track where we saw the gaps were all limited, all skimpy. Verstappen just made the pole in 1.2, 6.2, ahead of Norris by 65 thousandths. Ahead of Antonelli by 0.067 seconds. Among other things, Norris made a serious mistake. Also in the penultimate curve where he went too much on the curb. With McLaren, you can't afford to make such mistakes, in my opinion. You have the best car, both Norris and Piastri. How do you manage to go pole position by doing such a fast central sector? Guys, he did a central sector in 32.9 and the McLaren was flying in the second sector, flying especially in the driven part where there is curve 13-14, and he still couldn't do it. Pole position, we have Antonelli 3rd, great qualification of Kimi. Guys, I want to repeat it. This 18-year-old driver grows from race to race, and he's up there, and he's surprising everyone a bit. But we know the talent he is. And among other things, many of you have told me, it would be nice to see Kimi in Ferrari in the future. I too would be very happy to see him, but it's better that he stays in Mercedes, seeing the performance of Ferrari with this car and also seeing the pressure he would have running in Ferrari. Among other things, they also interviewed Montesemolo saying, Kimi, would you have seen well in Ferrari? Yes, I would have put him first in AS or Sauber, and then I would have made him go to Ferrari. No, we must give these young people a chance. We must let them run, give them the most performing car, because they can be at the level of everyone else. Of course, maybe the experience will be missing. We also saw it with the start of the sprint race, and we will talk about it later. But look at the performance that Kimi pulls out, even in front of Antonelli, with 67 thousandths to Verstappen, 2 thousandths from the best car, the McLaren, so a lot of stuff. Then, 4th Piastri, who in my opinion could have done better with Senni, possibly getting in front of both Kimi and Norris. 5th Russell, 6th Sainz, 7th Albon, and 8th Leclerc. So we also have to talk about Ferrari's performance, and I want to start right from Leclerc's statements, and then go on to look at Hamilton's statements, and then we also talk about the sprint race. So about Leclerc, he said it himself. He said, I put it here, we are behind 2 Williams, and it's not a mistake. It's a matter of merit. I was been lucky to get into Q3, and I was almost struggling to qualify for this Q3. So, I mean, guys, Leclerc did a good lap anyway in Q3. He managed to qualify for Q3. It means that he got the most out of the single-seater. This single-seater can't qualify 8th behind the Williams. But what are we talking about? A Ferrari behind the Williams, I mean, okay, that maybe he could have messed up the setup. And we can also grant it for the sprint qualifiers for the sprint race. But after the sprint race, we know it. He can modify the setup if the closed park reopens, if they have modified it. Leclerc's car, damaged in the accident, has been repaired before the sprint race begins. However, if this is the car's potential, it is really slow. I mean, it's really slow. And also looking at the onboard, both of the sprint race, but especially of the qualifications, you can see how much the drivers are at the limit. There's no grip. At the rear, guys, there isn't any. There's just no grip, and they struggle to drive this car, especially in the slow section. I mean, it's a Ferrari that doesn't hold the road. I mean, it doesn't hold the ideal trajectory. He keeps making corrections. He keeps making mistakes on mistakes. We've seen aborted laps because he can't push the single-seater to its limit. You make mistakes, you have to try the lap again, then you end up using an extra tire compared to the opponents. There are many dynamics that then go on to build the lap and create problems, difficulties within the team. And this time Leclerc has been cynical. And among other things, he also made another statement. Very, very important. Always about Leclerc regarding the qualifications, which quite destabilized me because it was very tough. In fact, Leclerc said, after the qualifications, we need to talk about the track position because it's not possible to start so far back. It's a joke like this. It's just a joke like this. That is, it's a joke in this way. Everything that is happening, even what you make me go through, there is so much pressure, and I have to anticipate problems to do better. That is, he has to anticipate what problematic can give him the car to try to do something better. This was a good lap in qualifying, but we are slow. In short, there is none. It's a really bad performance that from Ferrari with Hamilton 8th, and now we also talk about Lewis. Because guys, that is Lewis 12th. 12th out in Q2, he didn't even manage to get to Q3. And I also want to underline a very important thing. That one could say, damn, Lewis didn't qualify, but he really didn't qualify. By a little now, I'll show you the times. In fact, I'll show you the times from the telemetry that you can clearly see, and we have to compare Leclerc's lap with Hamilton's lap, because if we look at both laps, here it is. So here you can see, well, if we look at the Q2 laps, 26.9, Hamilton 27.0, these are the Q2 laps that then did not allow Hamilton to qualify. On the contrary, Leclerc qualified for Q3, so this is to say that Hamilton did not do a lap significantly slower than Leclerc. He was not up to speed in qualifying. In fact, Hamilton managed to improve a lot, even compared to the beginning of the season, as a level of performance in qualifying. Yet the car is not there, guys. It's not there. This Ferrari is really slow. We saw Hamilton having a lot of difficulties in driving. He is disappointed anyway with this performance, and we also know it after the podium of the sprint race that seemed to have rebuilt a bit the situation, to have given back a bit of morale also to the drivers. However, the call of the sprint race is very good, that of Hamilton. Among other things, I also heard the team radio, him saying to Ami, let's go to the box now because I'm really at the end of my rope. Let's say, like tires and everything. It makes no sense to stay on track also because the track was drying up. Let's mount dry tire. To Ami, he says we mount the medium. No, but what are you joking? We mount the soft. And so it's Hamilton who changes the strategy for Ferrari during the race when it should be Ferrari itself to give the best strategy to Hamilton. So this also makes me smile a bit. But in that case, you see the experience of the 7 times world champion who manages to change the strategy during the race and get to the podium. Thanks also to the safety car that could maybe bring him better in the sense that with the safety car at the end, he could maybe arrive without safety car, also maybe second or maybe even win the sprint race. But beyond that atypical situation where Hamilton made a great call, and it's there where you see the role of a 7 times world champion. In this experience, however, the qualifying performance is not there. The reality of the facts is that this Ferrari under normal conditions is 4th force and is risking to slide also backwards in some conditions and without bringing significant updates. So be careful that this situation is quite alarming. So I'm sorry to see Hamilton like this. I'm sorry that this situation has been created. In short, in Ferrari, and we'll see if Hamilton will be able to do something more in the race. We certainly expect a comeback from him, and we'll see if Leclerc will also be able to do something more because the Williams have to be overtaken in the race. There's no other way. I want to comment for a moment also, well, I'll show you this really sad graphic here too. Jar 10, Hamilton 11, 12, Bortoletto, and so on, all the others, with then Russell has improved, etc. But I want to talk about the start of the sprint race, because it has opened a bit of debate, both in the Mercedes team and in the McLaren team. And then we are also going to talk about the mistake made to Leclerc in the sprint race. Let's comment a bit on the sprint race. In short, what is it that we have seen? Well, in the sprint race, we have seen a good start by Piastri, who took advantage of the guidelines that are there this year. And in my opinion, we go ahead for a moment. Curve 1, let's see. Now we go to the point of the apex. It is clearly seen, guys, that at the apex, Kimi is alongside Piastri. But what are the guidelines of this year if Piastri manages to make the turn without going out of track limits? So staying within the white line, which he does, he can accompany the driver to the outside and even off the track. If they are side by side, so this is a bit of the rule of this year, that they have changed. In my opinion, it makes absolutely no sense because it gives the advantage to whoever is on the inside to always accompany the one on the outside. That is, whoever is on the outside is always thrown out. So it's a bit of an anomalous situation. But obviously, Piastri is taking advantage of this situation. You see that the problem is never the driver himself. The problem is the rule that is behind it. It's the rule that is wrong. In fact, Kimi complained in this situation. And then he said, good to know. That is good to know. So next time I do it on Piastri or another driver. So this thing here I didn't like because in my opinion this rule here should be reviewed to try to give all drivers the opportunity to attack and defend. Otherwise we throw the drivers off the track. It doesn't even become too safe as a thing. So be careful. And moving forward, we saw a Kimi who then returned and tried to defend himself behind. We saw Remington, who maybe here in this situation could be a bit more aggressive at the start. And, well, anyway, the first part of the sprint race, we saw it with intermediate tire. We saw the drivers in front. There were not many position changes. It was a quite static sprint race, in my opinion also, because then we obviously saw the safety car that slowed down the whole sprint race, and it ended under safety car also the sprint race. We saw the excellent call of Hamilton, I still want to repeat it, that allowed him to conquer the podium of the sprint call made by Lewis in times of difficulty. So, anyway, it is to be reiterated, this thing that Lewis manages to see before others, some situations, thanks to his experience. And however, then we saw Norris, who still managed to win the sprint race, thanks to the luck of the final city car. And despite Norris stopped after Piastri, so they were a bit lucky, but there is not much to comment on from my point of view. It will be interesting to see instead Verstappen, who starts from the front in the race. Let's briefly also look at the incident caused by Leclerc. Really merciless conditions anyway, it must be said, for the first start of the sprint race. Let's see. Here comes Leclerc, we see, and here he goes to the wall. Really, really difficult conditions. You see the moment when he starts to have water planning and then goes against the wall and they're nothing. Kudos to the Ferrari mechanics for fixing the car for qualifying. But it's a huge loss to not have Leclerc for the sprint race. Also because there are fewer points that are added to the Ferrari World Championship. So quite a disastrous situation, difficult at Ferrari's home. We hope for a comeback for the qualifications. I'll just show you the telemetry for a moment to make a comparison with. Also, the other teams, I want to show you the difference between Norris and Leclerc to show you how alarming it is. The situation in the second sector, these are the qualifying times. Q3, soft tire. Let's see, first sector loses a lot. Anyway, also Ferrari, and it comes to a difference of a tenth, let's say. At the end of the first sector, so in the fast curves, it struggles. Many corrections. Also, in the support curves, in the changes of direction, we see Ferrari struggles. But the part where Ferrari struggles even more is with the mechanical grip in the second sector, where it has no traction. And here we see the clear difference with McLaren, which always gives it a 6.21 miles per hour difference, and goes from 1/10 and 5 Leclerc to have 5/10 and 7 behind. So it takes 4/10 in 5 curves, something really, really critical. Then goes to recover in the last curve, Leclerc. Because indeed, Norris made a mistake in the last attempt in Q3. So this is the current situation with a Ferrari that is really struggling. Let's see if there will be some updates soon that the red needs to improve. But currently, you have to play on episodes like Hamilton did. You have to try to hope to do something different from the others and get the strategy right. For the race, I also give you my prediction. I think we will see a race with Verstappen, who could also try to defend himself from the mechanics. If Verstappen starts well, he can keep the leader, the head of the race. So I tell you, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. In my opinion, Antonelli, unfortunately, will not have the pace to keep Piastri behind. So I tell you, this podium here. Let me know also your podium in the comments. As always, I remind you to leave a like, to subscribe, activate notifications so you don't miss any video that's here on the channel. Every day I keep you updated on all the news about Formula 1 and Ferrari. Here from The Absolute, we will see you in the next video.